This really is the one lens to have when you're having only one, across all genres and use cases within the Hasselblad XCD lens ecosystem. It is that good, that versatile, and that rewarding. Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and let's get to it. Hasselblad's $4,500, 894-gram internal focusing leaf shutter equipped variable aperture 35-100mm E f2.8-4 Holy Trinity standard external zooming lens. The second lens in Hasselblad's Pinnacle E series zoom lineup following the 20-35 f3.2 to 4.5 introduced last year has just turned over the apple cart. It is tasty, it is fast, it is smooth and silent, it is versatile. And this zoom lens, fair enough, mounted on the 102-megapixel X2D2 also released today, outperforms my reference standard Apo Summicron SL35 Prime. I did not see that coming. This E-series pair offers the equivalent full-frame fields of view and shallowest depths of field of a 16-28 f2.5 to 3.6 and 28-80mm f2.2 to 3.2. A much better idea, I think, than the traditional but overlapping 16-35 and 24-70 full-frame two-step with which most of us are familiar. But since today is about the 35-100E, the very bottom line is this. It really can pull double duty as a series of outstanding primes, Hasselblad primes at that, capable of images like this. Which, while you might assume as a, yeah, so what, it ought to be able to do that, was not something I could say a year or three ago. Now, I'm not going to recite lens design, lens element materials, autofocus motor technology, any of that stuff, because who cares? Well, I don't care anyway, because the only thing that matters to me is the end result and how it feels on the journey to it. Okay, fine. The 35-100E has a pile of special lens elements, more than I've ever seen in any other lens. What it doesn't have is a bunch of switches and buttons on the barrel I don't care about anyway, quite unlike too many full-frame lenses these days in my book. Nor does it have the manual focus clutch of the V-series, which I liked very much, but in practice, I seem to not miss it at all. That's because the autofocus, say it with me now, just plain works. The lens is wonderful in its minimalist design and in hand with nicely weighted focus ring and programmable aperture ring. Don't get me started on the industry making the aperture ring programmable. It's an aperture ring, end of story. What is interesting to me, probably more interesting to you too, is how this lens paired with the just announced $7,400 840 gram X2D Mark II stacks up against the competition. So let's look at that. The 35-100E's most direct competitor is Fujifilm's $2,500 1 kilo GF 45-100mm f4, mated either to their $5,500 883 gram GFX 100S2 or their, call it $8,900 with tiltable EVF 1.2 kilo 9.44 million dot EVF equipped GFX 102, no S. In either case, the Fujifilm cameras are bigger, heavier, and more mundane. In the first instance, less expensive, but in the second instance, more expensive. Now, I've shot with the 45-100mm f4 on the original first generation $10,000 GFX 100, and I have to say, it was an amazing, if way too heavy, combo. The 35-100 struck me the same way the 45-100 did back then. Wow. If we compare the X2D2 to GFX 100S2 with GF 45-100 on value, the Fujifilm wins. The kit is fractionally larger and heavier, 7% and 1% respectively, but it costs 1/3 less. And in addition to what is the identical or essentially the same EVF as the X2D2, it offers both video the X2D2 doesn't, not a big deal, but it also offers the 2-axis articulating screen I wish the X2D2 did have, but doesn't. If we compare the 45-100 f4 mounted on the $8,300 GFX 102 kit, the comparison gets more interesting. Now we're adding modularity into the mix that Hassi forsook when moving to mirrorless. I'm talking about an extra $600 for the tilt adapter for that EVF, which I love. That EVF being the best in the market, the 9.44 million dot 0.64 inch full 1x magnification unit, also found in the Sony A7R5, A9 III, I think, and A1 Mark II. Yes, the Fujifilm kit is marginally heavier, call it 80%. Marginally slower at the wide end by one stop, courtesy of the GS Constant f4 aperture, as it was with the other GFX S2, and substantially bigger, 27%. But now there's barely a $500 difference between them, and those compensations can be meaningful. Then again, even more to schlep, and I can tell you that it wears on you over the course of even an hour or two. Which leads us to what I consider the most relevant full-frame alternatives to the 35-100E. Second-generation mirrorless Holy Trinity zooms like the $2,500 695 gram Sony 24-70 2.8 GM2, $1,300 735 gram Sigma 24-70 2.8 DGDN Art 2, or Nikon's recently announced $2,800 internal zooming, surprisingly light at just 674 grams Nikkor Z 24-70 2.8 S Mark II. They're all spectacular lenses. But since Nikon doesn't offer a 61 megapixel body, let's focus on the Sony and Sigma, the latter available in Sony E and Leica L mount. Both offer a meaningfully wider bottom end and faster top end than the variable aperture Hassi, while also being smaller, lighter, and less expensive, considered on their own and as a package mounted to their highest resolution camera body counterparts. But there's simply no denying the 35-100E paired with the X2D2 outresolves them. This is where practicality, economics, and one's shoulders, back, wrist, and neck intrude. For the vast majority of us, the only way you'll be able to see the differences in image quality among these Holy Trinity standard zooms in either direction, comparing the 61 to the 102, or if you're coming from medium format from 102 to 61, even with the extra 41 megapixels, is when pixel peeping at 1600% magnification at near minimum focusing distances. This is when you can find differences in chromatic aberration correction and edge resolution. To my delight, to my astonishment, the 35-100E wins. It's not that it is completely apochromatic. It's just that it's better than everything else I threw at it. Vignetting and distortion, that's slightly different. I'm talking raw files now. Vignetting especially can be seen at normal image size and viewing distances. And this is where most Hasselblad's lenses I've used suffer, if one chooses to see it that way, compared to the best full-frame equivalents. But I've actually come to embrace that look rather than want to correct it. Oh my goodness, lens character. As for distortion, not an issue on the 35-100E. Something I cannot say about Hassi's super wide primes. When it comes to build and image quality, all of these OEM lenses I've mentioned are great. I'd still give the nod to the Leica actually in this regard, but the flip side is that Hasselblad, Sony, Nikon, and Sigma zooms are still incredibly well built, and all are faster and quieter to autofocus than the Leicas. All of which, as I like to say, leave us where precisely? It really is as simple as this. The 35-100E is an outstanding lens, a breakthrough lens, the one XCD lens to have when you're having only one across the greatest number of use cases. If what you value most is what the 35-100E attached to the new X2D2 Mark II does best, you have the wherewithal and inclination to buy and schlep it compared to, say, just the 38V, 55V, or 75P. The 35-100E will be about half a kilo heavier and $800 more expensive and a whole lot bigger than any one of those primes attached. You've got a far more versatile kit with image quality as good or better than the best of them. More than that, you'd have to pony up another $9,500 to buy all four primes instead of the zoom, doubling the weight you'd have to carry and requiring you to make lens changes throughout the day. The question you have to ask yourself is it worth it? There are fascinating sets of trade-offs available from Fujifilm in the medium format space. Perhaps, depending upon one's priorities and budget, more compelling trade-offs in the full-frame space, most especially in the Sony E and Leica L-mount alliance, where Sony and Leica are the only ones selling the highest resolution 61-megapixel cameras, both with much broader and deeper lens ecosystems than either medium format system. Because while the difference between the two medium format camera manufacturers are real, those kinds of differences are amplified once one moves to full frame. Compare the 35-100E f2.8 to f4 mounted on the X2D2 to the smallest, lightest, most performant, and most keenly priced 61-megapixel full-frame Holy Trinity standard zoom kit out there, Sony's A7CR with the 24-72.8 G Master 2, which heritage, build quality, industrial design, feel in hand, menu system, EVF, IBIS, image quality at the margin, blah-de-blah-de-blah, aside, also happens to be 25% smaller, 39% lighter, and 53% less expensive. Then again, if you've gotten this far, you've already made up your mind. The very bottom line is this. Hassie is finally down to fighting weight and ready to rumble. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation in the comment section below because this is an exceptional audience. If you'd like help with a portfolio review, gear selection, finding or honing your artistic voice, sign up for a one-on-one mentoring video called Via Zoom at 3bmep.com/booking. Finally, please consider supporting our work by using the no-cost view affiliate links down below, sending us coffee money via PayPal, or most especially, joining us on Patreon, links down below as well. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.